Alright, hey YouTube, Kush here. I'm just making a quick video on this deck that I've been using recently on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. The deck's really cool. It's called Witchcrafters. You probably already heard of them. They come in the same box as the Invoked Engine, so if you're going for the Invoked Engine, you're probably going to have some of these cards. And one of the very cool things about this deck is that it's pretty budget. And I know I have 3 copies of like their boss monster, which is an ultra rare, and then 3 copies of this, 3 copies of that, and then 3 copies of this. I just got really lucky with my packs. I think I only bought like 20 packs and I got like pretty much everything. Except I did craft one of these spells because I just felt like I needed a third one. You can play them at 1. Honestly, you can play 1 copy of Madame, 1 copy of Haine, and I really like this card. I feel like this card's super good. I'm going to be playing 3 copies of each just because, I mean, I own 3 copies and it works. If you don't own 3 copies, you don't need to play 3 copies. All you need is at least 1 copy of the boss monsters, which are these 3. And then you can replace the other cards with like generic traps or spells or anything, or you can even add in more Witchcrafter cards. But pretty much I'm going to be going over the main deck of the Witchcrafter deck, starting out with Witchcrafter Potterie. You only run 1 copy of her, simply because her graveyard effects, it's okay. I don't think I've ever really used it. She doesn't really have any attack. She has high defense. So only 1 copy. You may notice if you play a Witchcrafter deck yourself, I'm not running the level 1. The level 1 is pretty good. I'll show it real quick. Her name is Jenai. She has good synergy with 1-for-1. She has good synergy with, I believe, this trap. You can just special summon her easy. The reason I'm not playing her is because I don't really like her graveyard effect. It's like you banish a spell and you get a copy its effect. I don't like banishing the spells. Like, I like the spells. They're super good. Like, why would I want to banish it? Once I banish it, it's like I lose advantage. Even though it does copy the effect, I feel like it's not that good of an effect. Plus, its stats are like terrible. So I'm just not playing it at all. In fact, you don't even need to play Potterie, but I'm playing her because I feel like you need more of the low level ones. I'm playing 3 of Pittore. This card's really good because it has higher stats, so like it's a little bit stronger, which it does matter a little bit. Also, its graveyard effect is decent. You can banish it, draw a card, and then you discard, or you don't discard, you send a Witchcrafter card from your hand to the graveyard. That can be a monster, or that can be a spell, or even like one of the traps. So it's pretty good, I like it a lot. Also, if you don't have a Witchcrafter, you banish your entire hand. That's never happened to me. It might happen to you. You should keep that in mind. If you have no Witchcrafters and you're like hoping to draw a good card off the top of your deck, probably wouldn't use this effect because you're probably going to lose your entire hand. Next, 3 copies of Skichima. I don't know how to pronounce her name, I'm gonna be honest. This card is really good. In fact, this card is probably the best card in the deck. No cap. This card is so good because it's like the stats are good. It has an amazing graveyard. And when I say amazing, I mean like legit one of the best effects in this archetype. The effect is you send a Witchcrafter card from your deck to the grave. Like normally in any deck, but especially in Witchcrafters, where if you send a spell, the spell comes back to your hand during the end phase. So essentially this card effect is search your deck for any Witchcrafter card. It's so good. I can't stress enough, I love this card. It's so good. There's so many cool combos with this card, but yeah, this card's amazing. 1 Witchcrafter Edel. I've only used her like really like once. Her effect's decent. One of them is special summon from the hand, one of them special summon from the graveyard. She's kind of like an extender, but she's also like level 5, so you can't really like normal summon her easy. You don't need to play her. I'm playing her just because I like having the option there. Would I play more of her? No, because I think just having 1 is enough. Similarly, the next monster, Haine, this effect is actually very powerful. It's super powerful. This effect is you get to discard a spell card and destroy a face-up card on the field. Like legit, you just destroy it. It's crazy. You can use it during either player's turn. You can chain it. Every single time I pretty much summon this card, because being able to disrupt your opponent, being able to stop your opponent from doing something is super powerful in Yu-Gi-Oh! I run 3 of it just because I own 3 of it. I got so lucky with my packs. You don't need to run 3. You can even just run 1. Honestly, you can just run 1. You don't need 3. But I run 3 just because I own 3. That's pretty much as simple as that. Next is Witchcrafter Madame Verre. This card's pretty cool. I don't think it's as powerful as the previous card, but this card is still good in the aspect that if your opponent has any monsters, their effects are negated. You can use this during their turn. So it's so powerful. Just thinking about it. Effects where you negate your opponent's monsters are strong. Effects that are quick play, meaning you can use them during either player's turn, you can chain it to stuff, is way stronger. This card has both of those effects. This card is very, very good. It also has a battle effect where it's like you gain attack or defense equal to like the number of spell cards in your hand with different names. That's a cool effect, I'm not gonna lie. But the real good effect is the one where you negate monster effects. It's good. Having this card and having this card are serious trouble for your opponent, because if your opponent tries to like do something really big, you can just destroy their card. If your opponent tries to activate a lot of monster effects on the field, you can just negate their effects. Like it's seriously so good. It's crazy. And you would say the downside is that you discard a spell card, right? That doesn't matter, because the spell cards, when they're in the graveyard, you can add them back to your hand. It's crazy. It's crazy. The next card is Witchcrafter Golem. The effect is like if your spellcaster monster is targeted for an attack or by card effect, you special summon this card, you can bounce a card, which means you can return an opponent's card to the hand, or you can target a spell card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. If you have 3 copies, I think you should run 3 copies. I've seen other builds where people only run like 2 or 1. If you have one, run 1. And her animation is absolutely gorgeous. The next cards are the Witchcrafter spell cards. The first one is you add a monster from your deck to your hand. Very good effect. And then if it's in the graveyard, you add it back to your hand during the end phase. Super simple, powerful card. You should at least run 1 copy. Like seriously, you at least need 1 copy. If you're playing this deck without this card, your deck's losing so much power. You don't need 3. 3 just makes your deck more consistent. At least 1. Please just run 1 copy. The next one is super powerful too. It's a normal rarity for some reason. It's you target a Witchcraft in your graveyard, special summon it. I run 1 of Witchcrafter Collaboration. It makes your Witchcrafter attack twice. This is a unique card. I've never used this card before outside of this deck. I've seen other people use it as well. You don't need to use this card. I'll explain a combo with it real quick because I think this card's kind of cool. It's not absolutely necessary in the deck. You don't need to run it, but it does have a really cool synergy, meaning it works really well with this deck. You send your entire hand to the graveyard. So that can even be 1 card. You can have 1 card in your hand. You send it all to the graveyard, and then you banish 5 spell or traps from your deck. Usually when spell or traps are banished, you never get access to them, like ever. They're gone, they're banished. But in this deck, you have a little card called Witchcrafter Patronus. And this card has the effect where you can banish it from the graveyard during either player's turn. Not just your turn, during their turn too. And you can target as many, it doesn't say 1, 2, it says as many Witchcrafter spell cards that are banished, add them to your hand, add all of them. So if you banish 5 cards through Chronicle and you send this card to the graveyard, you gotta add all 5 of those banished spell cards to your hand. I've never seen a combo this powerful. Does this mean that this deck is super good? No. But this combo is just so cool. And if you play this deck, at least try it once. At least try this combo once. The easiest way to get this card, this trap card, into the graveyard is with this card. One of my favorite Witchcrafter monsters. Shijimata. I'm not gonna pronounce her name, dude. I can't pronounce anything. But she is so powerful because her graveyard effect is just you banish her, send a Witchcrafter, you send a trap, the trap then banishes itself, and you add the 5 spell cards to your hand. 2 copies of Witchcrafter Bystreet. I think this card's really cool. It's like if it's on the field, your Witchcrafter can't be destroyed. Also, it has like cool effect where instead of discarding, you send this on the field to the graveyard, and like all the Witchcrafters, it comes back to your hand. 1 copy of Witchcrafter Scroll. It's similar to this guy, except if your Witchcrafter destroys a monster, you draw 1 card. Both of these continuous spell cards you can run out 1 or 2 or 3. Honestly, as long as you're running at least 1 copy, you're fine. That goes with all the Witchcrafter spells. As long as you have 1 copy, you're fine. Next is Witchcrafter Draping. I actually really like this card. I only run 1 copy, and maybe I'll bump it up in the future, but this card's effect is you can target spell or trap cards your opponent controls, return them to the hand. And it's like, dude, that's powerful. Not only that, it's a quick play, so you can use it during either player's turn. And not only that, it comes back to your hand during the end phase. So it's like you have like removal of your opponent's spell or traps that's like never leaving the game. It's always going to be there. And then next, 3 copies of Witchcrafter Unveiling. This is the one where you special summon a Witchcrafter from your hand. It also has a really useful effect where your opponent cannot activate or chain cards to spellcaster effects. And in one of the replays, it saved my life. Like, it legit won the duel for me. But I like this card. I run it at 3 just because I run a lot of the big guys, the level 7, level 8 Witchcrafter monsters. You can't normal summon these, so I can special summon them from the hand. So I like it. It's a good combo. This is not a Witchcrafter card, just like Spell Chronicle. This is a trap card that's very generic. It's a rare. I love the effect. You target a card and banish it. When you target the card, let's say they change something like, oh, I'm going to negate your trap, or oh, I'm going to do something. I'm going to get rid of my monster. If that happens, you don't need to discard. You don't lose anything, really. So I love this card because it's like, it forces your opponent to do something about it. Rather than your opponent can do something and you lose a card, your opponent is forced to do something. And if they don't, they lose a card that you're targeting. It applies so much pressure. It's very powerful. It has a graveyard effect. If a trap's activated, you can just special summon it back. I've used it a couple times. I think it's cool. It just adds more presence on your field. And finally, this trap is really good simply because you have an effect where you can like shuffle your banished Witchcrafter into your deck. This card's always going to be banished. In every single one of my combos, I try to summon this girl. I tribute her off, summon one of the bigger guys like Haine or Madame, and then I banish her immediately from the graveyard and send either a spell, or if I have Chronicle on the field, I send a trap. Because then that means next turn I get 5 cards. It's crazy. It's good. I love it. It's amazing. And since the Fire Girl is banished, if I have Patroness on my field, I can just shuffle her back into the deck and get another search. If you'll notice, the extra deck's empty because I don't run anything in the extra deck. I don't need the extra deck. I use this deck in the XYZ event. I don't even go into the extra deck at all. You can run whatever you want in the extra deck. Honestly, I feel like this deck is so powerful, it doesn't need an extra deck. And because of that, you can run cards like Domain of the True Monarch, where if you have no cards in your extra deck and you control a tribute summon monster, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. You can also run cards like Inichimura Fight, because this card, if you have no cards in your extra deck, you can like special summon it. And the other effect is if it's in like your zone, if it's in your pendulum zone, you can destroy it and draw a card. There's a bunch of cards you can run without having cards in your extra deck. And I'm gonna be honest, Witchcrafters doesn't need an extra deck. So I was playing a couple duels and I just wanted to show my match history. And I don't know how many games this is. I played like a couple, like maybe like 8 or 9. I won most of them. This was in the XYZ event, so you can only have XYZ cards in your extra deck. And since I didn't run any cards in my extra deck, I felt like I wasn't really at a disadvantage. The first duel I lost was to a burn deck. He immediately killed me, like immediately killed me. It was kind of cool actually. He burned me for 8,000 damage. And finally, the last duel was also against a burn deck. And this one was really cool because I finally figured out how my Witchcrafters can like combo off and all that. So starting off the duel, I'm going to be speeding it up. These are classic burn, set 4 pass. I'm just going to do little combos. I love this card so much. Tribute it off, special summon a monster from my deck. And then I'm going to banish it from the graveyard, send a card. I love this combo. I just love it. I can't stress how much I love that combo. It's so good. He's going to burn me for a little bit. Maybe he should have held on to it. I don't know, but he's going to burn me for a little bit. He has Morphing Jar, which lets him like draw 5, so that's pretty good on him. I also get to draw a little bit, which I like. I have Spell Chronicle, and I believe I have already a trap in my graveyard, so I'm going to be getting 5 cards next turn. So I'm a little excited about that. I'm going to be banishing this guy, because his effect is like, he like returns all my monsters to my hand, and he's going to burn me. I'm like, I'll just get rid of it now, I don't want to deal with that. And then this is where I banish a trap, and I'm going to start adding everything that's banished to my hand. It's like plus 5 free cards. And then here, yeah, if I remember correctly, this is pretty much where the duel ends. I'm activating all the spell cards I added. I'm just activating them, but I'm trying to like figure out what I can do. I want I want to do this. I want to do Witchcrafter Draping because it'll return his set spell or traps to his hand. But I'm like, I need to control Witchcrafters equal to the cards that I return, so I want to return as many as possible. So I'm going to try to get 4 Witchcrafters so I can return 4 spell or traps. So I'm trying to summon as many Witchcrafter monsters as I can. And this is where he starts his original chain. I'm going to activate Witchcrafter Unveiling, which means I get a special summon a Witchcrafter from my hand. But the really cool part about this effect is that your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to your activation of your spellcaster monsters. So I didn't realize this until like I did it. He's going to use this effect, right? And I'm going to activate the spell card. And he's like, okay, I'll chain to the spell card. He can't chain to his own trap. So I get to chain here. So I'm going to chain my Witchcrafter card. And since, if you remember, he can't activate anything in response. And since I activated my Witchcrafter as the final chain, the final one, he can't even respond to it. So these two traps that he has, they'll probably like burn me and kill me. You can't even activate them. And the chain's gonna resolve. Everything's gonna go back to his hand, and he can't do anything about it. He can't even respond. So I was like, that's pretty legit. I just finished him off. I really like this Witchcrafter deck. It was really fun to make and play. If you went for the Invoked engine, and I know a lot of people did because I've played against a lot of Invoked players, you might have some of these cards. And if you want to have a little fun in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, just try this deck out. You only need like really 1 copy of each card. You don't need multiple copies. As long as you have 1 copy, you should be fine. The deck's pretty low rarity. Well, that's all for now. I really hope you liked this video. As always, I hope you have a great day or night, and maybe I'll catch you later. Peace.